After the Dallas Mavericks miraculously landed the number one pick in the NBA draft, despite having just a 1.8% chance of doing so, there was only one question nearly every sports fan was asking. Was the 2025 NBA draft rigged? At first, I thought it was a joke, but because I was seeing it everywhere, I stated on Twitter, "Tell me y'all don't really believe this." And that unleashed hundreds of responses. Mr. Yo tweeted, "I believe it. I'm not sure what planet you're living on. There was no chance for the Cleveland Cavaliers to get LeBron James, but they got him. I understand your job, but you can't overlook the obvious. Cooper Flagg should be a Utah Jazz or Washington Wizard, but he's not. Why would you wish that on somebody?" Anyway, from slander season. Why wouldn't you believe that? This is the NBA we're talking about. 1920s Buffalo guy chimed in. There is corruption at every level in society. You don't think they aren't going to rig something like this? Lots of money at stake. Let me be honest. I don't love conspiracy theories. I believe in skepticism, asking questions, and connecting the dots. Some conspiracy theories are fun, like believing Bigfoot exists, or that the fifth digit of everybody's social security number indicates their race. They say all black people, the fifth digit of their social security number is an even number. And then there's the amusing little conspiracy theory that we're all secretly lizard people.
A disturbing number of people, roughly 12 million according to some sources, strongly believe or think it's possible that the US or even the world is run by extraterrestrial lizard people in disguise.
The lizard Illuminati, baby! But when it comes to the NBA, the amount of people that believe the NBA is rigged, and this is putting it mildly, is truly disturbing. When Dallas landed the number one pick in the draft, people actually believed that this was the NBA's way of doing Dallas a solid for trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers a few months ago, which effectively gave one of their most important franchises an international superstar to replace LeBron James once he goes into retirement. The old, "you scratched our back, let us give you Cooper Flagg back in return." But here's why that is absolute bunk. Do you know how much had to go right for the NBA to rig this? Do you know how many people would have had to be involved? Let us not forget that the only reason Dallas was even in the position to get the number one pick is because the Miami Heat won 2 play-in games on the road, which prevented them from getting the right to the 11th seed and a spot in the draft lottery. Let us also not forget, Dallas had to win a coin flip with the Chicago Bulls to even be in the position to win the number one pick. Now, none of this has stopped the conspiracy theorists from going ballistic, especially now that the NBA no longer televises the ping pong balls on live TV, which has been the smoking gun and major proof that the conspiracy theorists believe that something fishy is going on. But even though they don't show it on live TV, understand there are several people in the room when it happens, including select members of the media, such as ESPN insider Tim Bontemps, who tweeted that he has been in the room when the ping pong balls are drawn. Tim wrote, "The draft lottery isn't rigged. I've sat and watched the ping pong balls come out. There's no rigging it. Rather than saying that, I do think a fair thing to wonder is if the new rules have helped or if they've created more problems than they've solved. Today didn't help that." So all those people, including journalists who could have the scoop of the century, are just going to go along with the fix? Listen, the NBA has tinkered with the draft many times, including most recently in 2019, which Tim was referring to. And that is the smoking gun that explains so much of what we've seen the last few years in the draft. Blame the Philadelphia 76ers for this, because the 76ers committed to trusting the process, or basically blatantly tanking. The NBA decided to step in and try to curb teams from using tanking as a strategy to get better draft positioning. From 2014 to 2017, the Sixers won 47 games in 3 seasons, which resulted in them drafting Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. No championships, though. So the NBA decided in 2019 to lower the odds any single team could have at winning the number one pick. In 2018, the year before the NBA made some changes, the worst team in the league had a 25% chance of being awarded the number one pick. A year later, it was down to 14%. Now, since the NBA made that change, The team with the worst record hasn't won the number one pick. And the last 3 years, the team with the worst record has actually picked fifth. As a Pistons fan, this is extremely triggering information because the year that Victor Wembanyama was the prize, the Pistons had the worst record in the league, having won just 17 games, and they wound up in the fifth spot where they took Asar Thompson, who has tremendous potential and I absolutely love. But damn, Victor Wembanyama, to quote Whitney Houston, didn't we almost have it all? Another interesting trend since the 2019 change is that this marks the second straight season that a play-in tournament team has won the lottery. Last year, it was the Atlanta Hawks who won the lottery. And my Pistons, who won just 14 games and lost 28 in a row, again, drafted fifth. Now, despite these facts I've presented, many an NBA fan will point to the infamous frozen envelope involving Patrick Ewing in the 1985 draft as definitive proof that the NBA is always up to something shady. To refresh your memory, in 1985, the NBA was in trouble. There were a number of players on drugs, attendance was down. It was David Stern's first year as NBA commissioner. This was also the first year the league moved to a lottery system to determine draft order, and the first time the draft was televised. Here's what the conspiracy theorists say happened when members of the accounting firm that served as the official tabulator of the draft put the envelopes in a rotating bin that the commissioner would draw from to announce the draft order.
As you can see, this is the representative from Ernst & Winnie. He's the guy who's been tasked with putting the envelopes into the giant circle drum. There's envelope 1, 2, 3. Now let's pause for a second.
Okay, so this is when...
This is the envelope. Number 4 is the Knicks. Watch the pause he takes before he puts it in. Bangs it against the side right there. The envelope is now bent. All right, here's the head of security.
Okay.
Giving a little spin, Stern looking on, thinking, how am I gonna...
Okay, now couldn't an envelope get bent in this process?
Maybe.
You know?
But the fact that it was the fourth one that we saw bang against the drum. Listen to this exhale he gives. Why is he nervous? What's he nervous for? It doesn't matter what happens for him.
Okay, but it's his first year as the commissioner.
Oh my God.
So he's like, whatever team I pick out, their franchise will be changed forever.
When he sticks his hand in, you'll notice he'll take his hands, put it on the envelope. He could have picked the one he just touched first, but he flips it over and then picks the one at the bottom of the pile.
Some suggest this flip of the envelopes could be Stern searching for the bent envelope. As history would show, the envelope Stern chose belonged to the Knicks. However, the most infamous alleged method of the fix doesn't surround the bent envelope, but rather a frozen envelope. Reports surfaced that claimed the envelope had been placed in a freezer, making it markedly colder and easier for Stern to pick out.
And ever since then, most NBA fans have chosen to believe that when it comes to the draft, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Like when Cleveland wound up with the number one pick in 2003 and drafted LeBron James, who grew up 40 minutes from Cleveland. Or when the Bulls got the number one pick in 2008 and drafted Derrick Rose, who just so happened to grow up right there in Chicago. Now, I'm not convinced the NBA can come up with a solution that makes everybody happy. It's not good for the product if teams start racing to the bottom, something the NBA also tried to prevent by creating play-in games. I'm also convinced that even if the NBA showed someone making the ping pong balls, placing them inside whatever that apparatus is that they use to roll them around in there, NBA fans would just continue to cling to the conspiracy theory. Sometimes it's easier believing that the league is rigged, especially if your team isn't the one directly benefiting. It gives you the clarity that you crave. But often, the truth just isn't that sexy. It's more tantalizing to believe that behind closed doors, the Mavericks, the NBA, the owners, the media all came together and decided Dallas of all places, would be given a soft landing after trading a 26-year-old superstar who led the league in scoring during last year's playoffs. If the NBA was into rigging things that benefit the league, how the hell did the Los Angeles Clippers ever wind up with the number one pick for all those years? Now, if you believe this year's draft was rigged, then I guess you also believe that Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, will be teaming up with the secret lizard people to take over the Illuminati on this flat earth. I'm Jemele Hill, and I approve this message.